Now let's look at the important features of reflective practice. Examine our thinking. How do we examine our thinking? What we are thinking, we need to look at it, whether we are thinking in the right direction or not. Is our thinking practical? Can we apply our thinking to our working capacities? Would these applications be useful for our students? What I am thinking about my methodology to be perfect, is it really perfect for the students or not? So how are we going to examine our thinking? We can examine our thinking in two different ways. One is the reflective practice, that is, we look at the things ourselves. We look at each point and then try to question that point. Am I right if I am using a whiteboard for this practice? I will get an answer for that, and then I can depend on my thinking. Another way to do it is, you may ask your colleague, do you think if I use the whiteboard in this activity, would that be useful for the students? Your colleague might give you a right answer. So there are two ways to examine your thinking. One is ask the question yourself and you will get an answer. Or you can ask a question to your colleague or a friend who can answer your question. But it is very important to examine our thinking. We should not take it for granted that because we are teachers, there is no way that we are thinking in a wrong direction. The teachers are also human beings. We can also make mistakes. We can also be led in a wrong direction. Therefore, we need to examine our skills and our thinking, whether they are applicable to the work that we are going to take forward. Self-reflection, which is again a reflective practice, to look at your own work, to look at your own skills, to look at your own methodology. That leads to self-assessment. When we do self-reflection, we come to know where we stand. We are able to assess ourselves, and we also know our weak areas and our strong areas, and we know how to improve on our weaker ones. Clarity of ideas. When we start examining our thinking and self-reflecting, then the ideas, they become very clear. We start thinking whether we are using these ideas in a manner which are purposeful and meaningful for our students. When we do that, we try to make the idea very clear and understandable by our students and also by ourselves. So the clarity of ideas begin when we examine our thinking, when we self-reflect on our actions, and then we self-assess ourselves. It also refines our thoughts. Maybe there are some confusions in the beginning when we start using a methodology, but if we keep on examining our thinking, self-reflecting, and looking at the ideas that we are trying to apply, then we start refining. Just like we are taking something out of which we want to filter it and then refine it in the form of very thin particles. You refine sugar by making it thinner and thinner and thinner. In the same way, the ideas are filtered and filtered and filtered, and there comes a time when we get the minutest detail of that idea. And that means now we are able to refine our thinking, which we started examining when we started the activity. We need to control our emotions when we are self-reflecting ourselves. When we are doing the reflective practice, sometimes we are taken away by the thoughts that we think we are having some better qualities than others. We should not let this interfere with examining our thinking and doing some sort of self-reflective activities, and then we should, in conclusion, write down those ideas.